Hey everybody, just thought I'd give my thoughts on a couple of video games. Decided to treat myself to a Ubisoft Plus subscription for the month so that I could try Star Wars Outlaws. Boy, is that game mid. I'm not going to go all the way out and say that's a bad game. It's certainly one that, as long as I decide to maintain that subscription, I'll pick up, put down here and there. But it doesn't do anything particularly well enough to hook me in. The story is just kind of played out, it's that, kind of, one more job and I can get off this rock, I can, I one more score and I'm out, I'm going to go live the quiet life. Seen it a cajillion times, just layering another Star Wars coat of paint on it doesn't necessarily make it engaging. It's kind of tired. It's really trying to rely on, this open world gameplay with the Star Wars coat of paint on it to really engage you. Problem is, it doesn't even do the gameplay really all that great either. Like, it's serviceable. It's fine. It's also kind of janky. Some of the stuff is just unresponsive. I had to turn the lockpick game off because I was getting so frustrated trying to time everything just right that I eventually was like, let me see if I can turn this off, because I've been spending 5-6 minutes trying to unlock this door and I just cannot get the combination of this rhythm game down good enough to just breeze through this. That's not great. That's kind of rough. Especially when there's other games recently that have done lock-picking minigames so much better, I look at Starfield, like, as flawed as that game is, that lockpick game at least is something that you can work through pretty quickly. You can kind of, you might mess up once or twice, but you can generally kind of get through that pretty quick. I can't think of a single lockpick mini puzzle in Starfield that took me as long and got me frustrated to the point of the lockpicking game in Outlaws. So there's a lot of stuff like that. It's trying to force in a style of gameplay that's been done better elsewhere, even in, some of their own games, like some of the better Assassin's Creed games, but it really leans a lot into a lot of Red Dead. And there was a sluggishness to Red Dead 2 I didn't really care for, but like Red Dead 1, and the original Red Dead on the Xbox, like on the 360, like those are two of my favorite games. And this kind of gameplay was done way better in those. So, it's kind of leaning on these games, these gameplay, that you can recall better games that do it better. So it just doesn't do anything particularly well. It also falls into the thing that really bothers me the most about Disney Star Wars: no crawl, running screaming away from any use of John Williams themes. And so you don't even really get the full Star Wars vibing. Like, why, when you run across a guard post of stormtroopers that you have to sneak through, why can't you hear just a little sting of like the Imperial March or something like that to just kind of, bring that in? Or, some of the original Imperial little motifs that they would use in the original Star Wars when, there'd be a group of stormtroopers, marching through somewhere. Nope, none of that. So, yeah, it's mid. I certainly wouldn't pay the exorbitant full price that they're paying for it. But, it's funny because it gets me thinking about how, these companies are spending hundreds of millions of dollars on these games, and they keep just eating their hat on it. Like they aren't selling, they aren't even moving subscriptions well. And, you see all these layoffs and everything like that. Now, last night I decided to go over and check out PlayStation Plus and see what's new there, and they dropped the Plucky Squire. Now, talking about contrast, here you have a small indie title, and it is fantastic. Like, it blows away Star Wars Outlaws by a country mile. Like, the gameplay, tight. And the storyline is just kind of fun. I'm not too deep into it, but it's fun. It's non-intrusive. You get, your nice little story that goes with it. But the big thing is it is fun gameplay. And I'm just getting into the, where it's transitioning between the 2D and the 3D. But, like, I was having trouble putting it down last night once I got it downloaded and started playing it. Like, I was really, like I wanted to keep going, but I had to, like, force myself to go to bed because I knew I had to get up and work today. So I was like, okay, I need to pull myself away because otherwise I'm going to be up all night playing this thing. It's such a contrast where Outlaws, I had to kind of force myself, like, I should probably pick this up again, give it a little more time, see if it grows on me, versus this much smaller indie game that just hooked me in right away. And that's telling, that these companies insist on doing the $200 million thing when they could do a much smaller budget game that has really tight, fun gameplay with a decent story and probably make a lot more money. Like, guys, look at how big the indie market is. You don't have to constantly make $200 million games. And nowhere is this more evident than the reception and, the kind of middling results on games like this. Games like Outlaws, games like Concord, versus games like Vampire Slayers, or Saviors, Plucky Squire. These are smaller games that are much better received. Like, one of my most anticipated games that's coming out soon is Iron Meat from Retroware, because that just looks fun. Like, why don't we have a Halo Contra style shooter? Heck, why isn't Star Wars and Lucasfilm? Why aren't they doing, like, they could make a 2D Metroidvania game set in the Star Wars universe, and it'd probably do gangbusters and would cost them a fraction of the budget of Star Wars Outlaws and be way more fun and way better received. Like, guys, it's not that hard. Just make good, fun games. Nobody cares about graphics anymore. Yeah, there's the subset of people on Digital Foundry who, get off on that, but your average game player doesn't care. That's why the Nintendo Switch is eating everybody's lunch. They just make tight, fun games. Do that. Do that with Star Wars. I didn't need a giant $200 million open world Star Wars game. I needed a fun Star Wars game that gave me the feels whenever I pop in a classic Star Wars movie. Do that. It's not that hard. So, with that, I'm going to hop off of here. You guys have a good one. Like and subscribe and all that noise.